G'day everyone. I wanted to talk to you about a couple of things with the new firmware for the A7R3 and the A7 III. It also can affect the A9 as well with the focusing modes with eye detection, so I wanted to talk to you about that. But there's a couple of interesting things where people are getting confused, so I thought that I'd take you through both of those. Well, there's one thing particularly which is mentioned and not many people understand what it is, and that's using the FM menu to cycle through the tabs in the menu. So I thought I'd show you that to start with, and then we're going to look at the IAF issues that come up as well. So let's have a look at the tab first, and I think this is incredible, and it really is going to save you an awful lot of time when you're trying to get through the tabs itself. So if I switch over to the other camera, you're going to see here that normally if you press the tab menu, when I bring it up, what happens then when you scroll across is it just changes the number. Notice how it says there 7 of 14, 6 of 14. If you want to change the tabs up the top, you have to use the scroll wheel at the back and then move up like that and go across like that. So that can be a little bit cumbersome in the way that it actually works. So the beautiful thing how this works, and it's been mentioned before that it's there, but no one really understood what it was. You now just have to press the menu and then press the FN button to just move along the tabs at the top. So I'll demonstrate that for you just so you can see how it works. So now if I press the menu button and then, if I press the menu button and then press the FN button, you can see now it moves across the tabs up the top. So much quicker way of getting amongst those tabs than say having to open up the menu, then press the up button on the circular wheel on the back, and then to get out of it. So I think that is a really good little quick tip on how that works, and I think it's a fantastic little thing actually, and it's something now that I will use all the time. I didn't even realise that was on the A9, and I just tried it, and that same feature is on the A9 as well. It certainly saves a lot of time if you're trying to work quickly or very fast, that you can move along the tabs at the top straight away. Now the second thing that I want to show you is dealing with autofocus, because it's really interesting now with the new autofocus, the way that that's working with the Sony A7 III, the A7R3 and the A9. The way that if you half press on the shutter button, or even if you're using back button focus, that it grabs the eye. And what they're saying is now is that you don't have to program other buttons. And to show you what I mean is how it used to work to get IAF was I would have to I was using back button focus, so I would press the AEL button there first, or the AF on button I should say, and then I would press on the AEL, which I'd programmed to be IAF, and that was how I brought IAF up. So there's some interesting scenarios here with how you control it now, because they're saying now you don't have to do that anymore. Well, I kind of disagree. I think you still do need an IAF button assigned, and I'll show you why in a second with Susie that I've got set up over here, and I'll show you how the whole system works. The other thing too is that you need a way of turning autofocus off. For instance, if I was in a wedding and I had myself here, or I was the bride and I had the groom next to me or whatever, you don't know which eye is going to be actually selected with the A7 III. You can't determine which eye like you can with the A9, but it will grab the nearest eye. So if someone was closer in the crowd, it would grab that eye rather than the bride or whoever you were trying to track. So you need to be able to turn the IAF off in those sort of scenarios and use focusing normally without face detection. Well, it's changed the way that you do that with the A7 III and the A7R now, the way it used to work. And I'll show you what you've got to do. You can put these in quick keys, but I'm showing you at this stage what you've got to do to turn that feature off. So what we've got to do is we have to go into the menu, and then you have to find the IAF menu, because that's where those settings now are. So if you look into here and you've got face IAF set. Now if you want to turn IAF off, this is how you have to turn it. You've got face IAF priority in AF, and you would have to switch that off. That will then mean that when I press down, you'll notice now it's just using your normal focusing modes. There's no IAF assigned. I'm just half pressing the shutter button. If I bring this back on and turn that to on, the IAF, you'll now notice that it grabs the eye each time. So that's how that works. Now it's just choosing which one, because the face is basically in a direct plane, so they're both the same distance away. So that works. So if you do have to switch the IAF off, that's how you'd have to do it. And you can obviously put that in your favorite menu, or assign it to a quick key, something like that, a custom key. But the other interesting part with the autofocus is that the second that you go out of wide area, because at the moment that was using wide area, the second you go out of wide area, IAF no longer works. And I'll show you what I mean by that right now. So if we go into here, at the moment you can see IAF works. If I change the focus mode, say let's go down to flexible spot, and all you do is you can see if I move that around, I'll put it halfway on the picture there. Now if I focus on that, you'll see that there's no IAF, so it's disabled face detection and IAF. You can see it's not actually working there anymore. It's grabbing that point. Now, the only way you can bring back the IAF is to have a custom key still assigned to IAF, because you may find that what's going to happen here is you might be, say, focusing on one thing, then someone walks into the frame and you want to immediately grab that person by using IAF. Well, what you do is you assign a custom key. If I half press down on the shutter button, you see it's focusing on whatever I've got focused there with the flexible spot. But now if I press the IAF button, it grabs the eye immediately. So this is giving the option to immediately go from that flexible spot to the IAF, which is a really great feature. But flexible spot is tending to disable that IAF. So you've got to be very careful if you're using flexible spot in those scenarios, and that's why I'm saying it might be still good to keep a quick key assigned to IAF in case if you're using flexible spot to track something, and I do use flexible spot quite a bit by using the touch screen and move around to what I want to focus on. Then if I do want to immediately grab IAF, I can just press that custom key and the eye will then be immediately back in focus. So very interesting. Hope you found that helpful. Let me know if you did down below. Apart from that, I'm doing a wedding tomorrow, so I'll let you know how that goes. If there's any other issues, please leave it in the comments box down below and I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. That's all for now. Bye guys.